Sun Life Financial is proud to partner with Canadian HR Reporter and Thomson Reuters on the following roundtable, which takes an in-depth look at disability management. Sun Life is committed to working with Canadian employers to help optimize the physical, mental, and financial health of employees and to support your organization in maintaining a healthy, engaged workforce. For more information, visit www.sunlife.ca.
Disability claims pose a major challenge for employers, with stress and mental health issues forcing a lot of workers off the job. Canadian HR Reporter recently hosted a roundtable in partnership with Sun Life Financial to look at some of the issues around disability management. We wanted to explore the reasons for rising disability claims and find out where employers and employees can turn for help. In this video, the first of a 7-part series, panelists discuss what is behind the trend and what is driving increases in long-term disability claims.
So, typically speaking, when we look at episodes of temporary work disability, there's a couple of different factors that contribute to the incidence, so the number of people moving into claim, and then the actual duration associated with that. So one of the things that we're seeing is that there are more comorbidities or polymorbidities taking place. So it's not just one particular incident that is driving an episode of temporary work disability. If it's two, it's a comorbidity. If it's more than two, it's a polymorbidity. So frequently we're seeing people with one condition coming forward and sometimes coupling that with an incident of chronic disease, so perhaps an anxiety incident, a depression incident, or heart disease, lung disease. Type 2 diabetes is a common one that we see. So this invariably leads to more incidents and longer durations and more people transitioning from short-term disability into long-term disability plans.
Mm-hmm. I'll add to that as well. I mean, there's a couple factors going on. We have demographic factors, but we also have societal factors. So if you look at the two drivers of disability, the two big ones are mental disorders and musculoskeletal disabilities. And if you just take the musculoskeletal disabilities, we do have an aging workforce. We do have more complexity actually in those conditions than we've seen before. There are a number of health risk factors that we're seeing in society that are increasing. Insomnia being a huge one, which makes it difficult for anybody to actually cope with any condition, but in particular one where there's pain and there's other functional issues. And from a mental health point of view, I know that people often say that we're seeing more mental health issues because of reduced stigma, and I think there's a little bit of that. But we are also seeing more mental health risk factors in the population. Isolation, a massive one. Many more health risk factors in younger cohorts than we've seen before. And actually younger Canadians driving disability incidents for mental disorders as well as other factors, whereas previously it was people in their mid to older years.
And I think you need to look at whether, certainly it is a younger generation. We're also seeing that the workplace itself is actually, that might be the trigger point. That is not the diagnosis, but it's the trigger point that is leading to that mental health issue, that absence. And I do agree that that does tend to lead to a multi-diagnosis as well, but the workplace issues are driving some of this behavior or that trigger that leads to that disability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that's been said, and it's been interesting because you've mentioned a couple of things: societal changes, increased recognition of what were previously seen as softer disabilities, depression, anxiety, that kind of thing. So on the one hand, people are less hesitant now to raise those issues, to say I'm suffering from anxiety or depression. At the same time, though, we still have a lot of employers who are really skeptical about those things, and it often becomes a self-perpetuating cycle where someone says I'm suffering from anxiety, I need some time off. They know that the boss doesn't believe them, and they're worried that if they go off on leave, they're going to lose their job, which increases the anxiety and the stress, which makes things worse. They're out for a longer period of time. So it feeds upon itself. So I think that's a big part of it right there. You also, Paula mentioned isolation. That's an interesting one. I've seen this coming from telecommuting. And you've got people who are working at home all day in their pajamas, and it sounds great. And all of a sudden, they realize that they are depressed. And a big part of that is because they're not interacting with people during the day. So that's, I think, a really unintended consequence of the rise of telecommuting.
I think that's a valid point. I've actually just reviewed a study that showed the telecommuting group of staff for one company is actually the least engaged group of staff.
And it's really not surprising. If you look at what happened in the UK at the start of this year, they actually appointed a minister of loneliness to really help address this sort of thing, because we've never been more connected at the end of the day, but we've never been further apart at the same time. So we can see these sort of things feeding in. And humans, we're very much social animals at the end of the day. Work is essential for our good health. And when we miss out on that interaction, that commonality, that sort of thing, it tends to feed into some negative feelings and perhaps leading to issues around anxiety, a little bit of stress, and at the end of the day, this does translate into the potential for higher risk.